Okay, we're at this burnt truck way out in the middle of nowhere, walking around this vehicle, looking for external heat patterns. We notice that the aluminum rims are pretty much intact on this side. There's a slight heat pattern on this door, a slight heat pattern on this door. You can see that down near the bottom of the doors on the passenger side, there's still some paint left there. Some of it's burnt, but it's still there. That was protected by the door sill on the inside. Walking over to the driver's side, we can see heat patterns inside the box on this side and at the front here from the gasoline flaring off as the vehicle burns from the front towards the back. We can see that this aluminum rim on this side is quite extensively melted compared to the other three wheels, and that's because it's close to where the gasoline fumes were burning off the gas tank. The gas tank is on this side. So what happens is a plastic gas tank will melt above the fuel line, and then the vapors just burn off. It doesn't explode unless we're on TV. So looking at these doors here now, we see that again on this side there is some paint remaining, although it's charred at the bottom of those two doors. That area is protected as fire goes through the cab because the sills are quite high in this. We've got quite an extensive and obvious heat pattern here on this side. And then again, this wheel, aluminum wheel, is not melted at all. Looking at the engine compartment, we've eliminated all the electrical in the engine compartment. Heat patterns in the engine compartment are consistent with fire migrating into the engine compartment through the firewall from the interior of the vehicle. So all the electrical has been checked and eliminated as a cause of the fire. When we look at the interior of the vehicle, and come on this side, Gord. When we look at the inside of the vehicle, we can see the inside of the driver's door. That area that is more smooth there, more of the finish is burnt off, left it kind of a bluish color. The darker areas there are where there's more paint still present. Now, sometimes that leaves a darker area, sometimes it leaves a lighter area, depending on what paint was on it, what color the paint was. So we compare that to the back door on the same side. You can see that there's quite a lot of finish left on that metal. When we look at the underside of the roof and the top of the roof, we can see an obvious heat pattern right in this area here and a little bit on that side, on the driver's side. The passenger side interior roof has a lot of finish left on it, so it was less hot on this side. Now, I'll direct your attention to the floor. In the front of the cab, we look at the floor, and we've excavated right down to bare metal there with very little resistance. There's a lot of debris left on the passenger side floor, and a lot of that is just one solid melted blob of plastic and vinyl material that's dropped down from the dash, and underneath that there will be unburned floor covering, which in places we can see, but that we tried to break that up with a hammer and it's solid. It's still got pieces of the windshield mixed in with it, so we know that all that came down later in the fire. But on the driver's side, most of that is bare floor. So all the heat patterns overall in this burnt vehicle are consistent with an ignitable liquid being poured on the driver's side floor, probably the driver's side seat, but more so on the area of the center seat in the front. Now, let's look at the windshield. Come out at the front of the vehicle. We can see that on the passenger side, there's still some of the rubber molding here and little pieces of the windshield glass here and there. When we look down on the top of the firewall, the melted windshield is still laying there. Compare that with the driver's side. On the driver's side, there's a little bit up here, and a small amount here that you wouldn't even fill a teaspoon. And a little bit of glass down low, but this area is pretty much clean. So it's kind of indicating a fire more hot on this side. When we look at when we look at the burn patterns overall, we see that the fire originated in the cab, migrated through the engine compartment, and through right to the back of the end of the vehicle. When we look at the remains of the aluminum components in the heater and air conditioner, we can see that they were lying in this position here. We can see that fire has traveled, or heat has traveled from the center or on the left side of the cab in this direction, because these are melted off on the left side more so than anywhere else. So we've determined that this vehicle is the victim of an intentionally set fire, and we've ruled out all accidental causes. And we found also that several of these windows had been in the open position. On the rear driver's side, we can see that that window was probably completely down. This window was probably completely down because there's huge amounts of glass inside the windshield, inside the door rather, and some of it has laid across this reinforcing piece of metal here, and it's just stayed there and melted. That would not have happened had this window been in the up position. So by the amount of glass we've found inside this door, this window was completely down or almost completely down. We found no pieces of glass from this window inside the cab. This window here was partially down. I suspect about halfway, judging by the amount of glass that's inside this door. On the other side, we found that both of those doors had been down 3 or 4 inches. Judging by the amounts of glass that we found in there. And we try to examine these in the position we found them inside the door, so it gives us an indication of whether they were up or sitting sideways. And so this window was down probably 5 or 6 inches. They were all open slightly. And that is what happened to this vehicle.